Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, welcome back, book friends. Speaking of cozy, what is making you feel cozy these days? For me, I am getting, like I said last week, I'm getting back into the classroom, and that is kind of making me feel cozy. Just getting back into the swing of things, like, oh, this is how I used to do this is how I used to do that, and this is what I need to change because that didn't work in the past.
Yeah.
And just owning my teacher voice again that I've had to use quite a few times already.
I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. But it just feels good to return to something familiar, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been keeping me cozy. Also, you know, I get finished at work and then I come home and Nick's here and we just get to chill, we'll cook together and then rinse and repeat, you know?
That's awesome. What have you guys been cooking this week?
More Mexican food, you know. It's been more Mexican food heavy, I should say, this week.
Okay.
Anyway, what's keeping y'all cozy?
So for me, last weekend was a lot of fun, but it was very tiring. I had a very long weekend filled with family fun stuff. So Friday was Halloween, got to go trick-or-treating with my niece. You know, we dressed up as the K-pop demon hunters, and my sister carried around a little boom box while we were trick-or-treating with all the K-pop songs. So we were singing and dancing the whole time we were trick-or-treating. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Obviously, my niece had a lot of fun. Yeah. So that was really great. And then I had to wake up at 4:45 in the morning, which was not cozy at all, just to go to Waco to the Baylor homecoming game because Baylor decided they wanted to have an early homecoming game. So we went to the homecoming game for Baylor. It was so much fun. And my brother actually surprised us all by showing up and taking my other niece with me, or with him. And so that was a lot of fun because we got to dress her up in like a Baylor cheerleader uniform. And she was like loving campus. She was like running around on the field in campus. And she just had so much fun. I mean, she played so hard that like by the time we went out to dinner, or it was like a late lunch, she was passed out. Like she couldn't even couldn't even sit through all of the food. Like she had her own bites and then passed out at the table. It was so cute. But like just all that fun with both my nieces and my family, like it just really kept me cozy. And honestly, it just like I absolutely loved being back at Baylor, like just very like nostalgic. Like I love seeing campus. It just brought back so many great memories of when I was there. So it was just a really great weekend.
Honestly, awesome. I feel like an honorary Baylor Bear.
Yeah.
Just considering how many times I drove you to campus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, and I have a car until like my sophomore year, I think.
Yeah.
Like maybe my sophomore year, yeah.
And Jen was my bonus roommate, and you came along to meet this.
I was like always there.
Yeah.
So it was just really great visiting again and just thinking back on like all the really great times I had there. So it's good.
Yeah.
So fun.
Nick's niece was also K-pop demon hunters for Halloween.
Which one?
Gosh.
The purple-haired one, the pink-haired one. Okay, purple. So Rumi. She was Rumi.
Okay, yes. But we're actually watching it tonight, and I've never seen it, so...
Oh my god, you have to text me and tell me what you think. I made my mom watch it.
It's huge. I know everyone loves it.
I know.
Well, I told you guys about it, and then you were like, well, I don't like K-pop. So I was like, yeah, you guys won't like it then.
Yeah, but we're giving it a try.
Awesome. Let me know how you
maybe
think.
You'll love it.
Maybe.
So for me, I didn't really have a busy weekend, and I've been having a chill week off of work because it was my birthday this weekend, and at work, thankfully, they give us thank you. They give us a free like day to take off on our birthday, and we can take it either the day before, the day of, or the day after. And then we also get a day off for our like work anniversary. So both of those happen to be always sit in the same week for me. So I just make it a little staycation for me every time. So I've just been off of work and hanging out at home, doing stuff that I've been meaning to get to, you know, like that kind of stuff. So it's been nice.
That's awesome. So did you take it after your birthday then?
Yeah, so I'm off this weekend. My birthday was this past weekend.
On the weekend. That's nice, dude.
Love that journey for you.
I know. I don't want to go to work this week, but whatever.
Right? Yeah.
Me either.
Will this be our job yet?
I know. That'll be
Right?
me
Oh my
next
gosh.
week, dreading going back.
I know. It's so bad. It's been so busy at work. So I'm just like, don't want to go.
Hey, book friends, it's Ethan. When I think about cozy reading essentials, slippers are at the very top of the list. A while back, I got my first pair of Bombas gripper slippers, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to feel all that different from the other brands that I'd tried. But here's the thing. These are next level. They keep my feet warm and toasty without ever looking frumpy, so I can curl up with a book feeling both cozy and stylish. Bombas just knows how to do comfort right. And the best part is that for every item you buy, they donate one to someone in need. Since we're affiliates with Bombas now, we've dropped our link right into our newsletter. So if you're ready to upgrade your cozy essentials, be sure to subscribe and check it out there. You can always find the link in our bios on all of our social media accounts. We are Books Between Friends Pod across all social media platforms. It's a small way to support the show while keeping your toes happy. Now, let's get back to the episode. Okay, book friends, I am so stoked to be our lore master for our brand new discussion for The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. We decided to end our year with a nice and cozy fantasy, especially right after our horror read of The Bewitching. So this is going to feel very nice. This is a personal favorite for me. I've read this twice now. I love this book. But before we get started, I'm going to pass it over to Jen for a quick spoiler warning and some shout outs.
All right, friends. So before we start our discussion today, just quick spoiler warning. If you're listening to this episode, we are assuming that you have read the first 5 chapters of this book because there are going to be spoilers throughout our discussion. So if you haven't had a chance to read it just yet, please go back, read all 5 chapters, then come back and join us in the discussion. And if you've been loving our book chats, we would really, really appreciate it if you guys left us a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more book lovers find us and keeps our little community growing. Plus, we love hearing what you think, and we would love, love, love to give you guys a shout out on our next episode.
All right, book friends, we have been loving discussing all of our books with you this season. We did want to announce that this will be our last read for the season, not last read period, but last read for the season, and then we will pick back up to ring in the new year with you in 2026.
Yay!
So look forward to seeing you there after our last part of The House in the Cerulean Sea. All right. As we usually do, since we are kicking this series off on this episode, we are going to dive into some of our first impressions. Since I have read this book before, I'm going to go last on this section before, and I'm going to kick it over to Jen and Steph.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
So for me, this is my first ever cozy fantasy. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of didn't know cozy fantasy was a thing. I thought it was just like fantasy in general, right? But I'm really excited. I didn't really know what to expect going into this book, so I'm like really excited to kind of dive more into it. You know, the first 5 chapters, it still really hasn't given me a whole lot, so I can't really tell you like what I feel about cozy fantasies in general. But I will tell you that the back of this book says that this is an enchanting love story, which is obviously I love love stories. And I know that it has the trope of a found family. So I can kind of already see where the story is going to take Linus. And I'm totally here for this. Like, as an educator, I have a soft spot for kids. You know, my heart is like already going out to the children mentioned in the book. And you know me, I'm a sucker for a great romance. So I honestly cannot wait to keep reading this book.
Yeah, so I've only read a couple of cozy fantasy that I can remember in the past, and I'm so glad we're finishing this year with a cozy fantasy. It's a genre that I feel like I say this about every new book that we read. It's a genre that I've been wanting to dive into more, and I actually have so many Libby holds right now for some cozy fantasies that I'm waiting on. But yeah, like this is just feeling so lighthearted. It's kind of giving me the same feeling as like watching a cute Pixar movie, if that makes sense to you. And it's just so sweet and wholesome, and I'm already falling in love with the characters and just like care about them deeply already in the first 5 chapters.
So, like I said, I've read this book twice before this, so this is my third time reading it. I'm excited to read it again. I feel like it's going to be like a once a year type thing, and there's only like a select amount of books that I do that with because I do, like I said, I read slower, and so I can't afford to do a lot of rereads. And so one is The Giver, another is Wolf Song by TJ Klune, another is Red, White, and Royal Blue, and then this one I'm highly considering. So I love this book. At my previous job, we had a book club that met every so often, and this was one of the novels we read per my suggestion, and everyone ended up loving it.
Yay!
So
That's awesome.
I hope that's the case this time. This is a perfect read for those that love a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of wonder, and found family, like you were saying, Jen. The first few chapters can be a bit bleak, and I can tell, like, reading it now and over again, I was like, that's definitely purposeful. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything from my gals here, but be prepared for just low stakes and cute, cozy moments.
I was telling Stephanie that when I was reading it, it feels very predictable. Like, I kind of know where the story's going, but I feel like this story is going to be more about the journey, more about the characters, more about like what's happening, instead of having to predict or figure out what's going to happen in the end, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, everyone. So we are going to dive into our summary first before we get into our 3, 2, 1. So this is a summary of the first 5 chapters, just so you can catch up with us, or a little bit of a refresher. So we have our main character, Linus Baker, is a by-the-book caseworker for DICOMY, the department in charge of magical youth, who inspects orphanages to ensure the safety of magical children and those around them. He lives a lonely, quiet life with his cat Calliope and sticks closely to rules and routines. After a typical day at work, Linus is unexpectedly summoned by extremely upper management. They assign him a highly classified case. He must spend 1 month on Marsyas Island to evaluate an orphanage run by Arthur Parnassus and determine whether it and its unusual residents pose any danger. It's framed as a mandatory promotion for Linus, and his current work is reassigned. Linus boards a train to Marsyas with Calliope. During the journey, he opens the case files and faints when he learns one of the children is named Lucifer, or Lucy for short, the Antichrist. He's met by Ms. Zoe Chapelwhite, the island's caretaker, who reveals she's a sprite herself and assures Linus the children are just that. Children, no matter their origins. Once on the island, Linus arrives at the cliffside orphanage and meets the residents one by one, starting with our lovely Talia. Talia is a garden gnome with a love of gardening and extreme levels of sarcasm.
Yeah.
Then we have Theodore, a small wyvern who collects buttons for his hoard, buttons and coins. And then we have Fee, a forest sprite connected to nature. We don't know too much about her. She's a little mysterious, and she's got some attitude. Then we have Sal, a quiet boy who transforms into a small Pomeranian when frightened. We have Chauncey, a green amorphous being who dreams of becoming a bellhop. And then we have Lucy, dramatic, mischievous, and fond of trying to scare Linus. By the end of chapter 5, Linus has met Arthur Parnassus's unusual family and stands at the start of a journey that will challenge his rules, beliefs, and ideas of what it means to care. All right. So now that brings us to our 3, 2, 1. Since I've read this one, I'm choosing to elect to go last on all of these, just to hear what you all thought first. So y'all have at it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. So our 3 things that stuck out to us. Sorry. 3 things that stuck out to us.
All right. So the first thing that stuck out to me was the department in charge of magical youth and magical adults, because there are 2 different departments here. And the orphanages. Okay. So this is more about like, this is the understanding I'm getting reading this. I want to see what you guys think, after you read these parts. So this is just kind of what I gathered. From my understanding, these orphanages house only children with magical abilities, right? like any child
Yeah.
who has an ability or any adult, like they go to these orphanages. Because my question is, like, once a child is born, do they automatically go to one of these orphanages, or is it just what it is, like an orphanage where like they don't have their families anymore? Is it obviously purposeful to be isolated from humans? Am I wrong? I don't like, what did y'all think of that specifically?
So my understanding was that yes, it's an orphanage only for magical beings, but not necessarily that all magical children are taken to one of these orphanages. It's just if they find themselves in a circumstance where they need to go to an orphanage and they're magical, there's a separate orphanage for those kids apart from human kids, I would assume.
Because it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of kids out there, or there's a lot of people out there with abilities that are not part of these orphanages. At least so far. This is only the first 5 chapters, of course, you know?
Right.
So that's why I thought that.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's explained later on in the book or not, so this is kind of like I guess, a real-time assumption.
Okay.
So I think I'm along the same lines as Steph here, but I do think, or I would assume to think, if my brain is just taking me there and I'm firing off, that if a child is born into a regular family and they tend to have magic, I would assume, based off of what I've read in this book, that their family probably chooses to
send them there.
There. Just because these orphanages seem overrun, and there's such a distinction here in this world building that magical beings are meant to be feared almost.
Yes.
You know, just because people, like Miss Chapelwhite is saying in these chapters, people fear what they don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. They're like outcasts.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so that was my first thing. And along with that, too, I'm obviously seeing that the bad guys here are the extremely upper management, which, by the way, what a funny-ass name. What the hell?
Whimsical.
What a weird
As they're
name.
the ones trying to keep control over shit
Yeah.
they don't need to control, right? So that was my first thing. My second thing is wondering, because it got mentioned, and so what happens to the children after Linus recommends for an orphanage to be shut down? What happens to them? Because it made it sound like I think the first orphanage that he went to in the beginning chapter, and then it got mentioned again with the island sprite. They're like, do you not know what happens to these kids after you recommend it?
Right.
And so I'm like, well, what happens to them? What do you guys think happens to them?
I don't know. Yeah, it was brought up at enough times that, it's like a mystery what could possibly happen to them. Obviously, it's not a good thing, because the first time I think it was like one of the orphanage, person in charge of an orphanage said it to him kind of in secret, and was almost trying to pull at his heartstrings or cause him some guilt to be like, you have no idea what happens if you recommend that they shut it down. And then also Miss Chapelwhite brought it up, and also kind of pleading with him not to recommend that they shut it down. So obviously it's not a good thing, and hopefully we'll find out soon, but it's going to be hard to grapple with, like, if we find out what it is, and as we expect, it's probably not a good thing. How's Linus going to feel about that? He seems like a good guy. I'm sure he's going to have to come to terms with that.
Right. He doesn't seem like a person who wants to cause harm. If anything, he's so stickler to the rules because he wants to do what's right for the kids. Yeah. But he doesn't understand the politics behind everything is his problem. And so I'm fearful to what happens to these children after, because he's recommended a few places to get shut down.
Yeah, he's recommended it 5 times. And he's almost intentionally naive. Like, he doesn't even deign to think about what could happen, right? Like, he's, to your point, he is so by the book that that he was like, well, literally, like, I don't think he means to sound callous, but he's like, literally, that's not my problem.
Right.
It's not my job.
After that, it's not my job anymore. So like, I'm here to do my job.
It's above my pay grade. And then he doesn't ask questions beyond that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really scared to find that out, but that really stuck out to me, just because it got brought up a few times. And then the third thing that really stood out to me were obviously the 6 children at the island orphanage that Linus went to. How freaking cool and unique are each of these kids so far already? I kind of laughed whenever he read the file of Lucy and he goes to Antichrist. I was like, What?
What?
It's like, what the heck? I was laughing 'cause I thought this was supposed to be a cozy fantasy, not a fantasy about an anti-crime.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Did
It did. The first time I read that, I was like, oh,
right?
interesting.
Yeah.
Totally
And then
unexpected.
Talia made me laugh. I loved her sarcasm. Honestly, I love how she was testing Linus, like when he was trying to find his cat, telling him how she wants to test if humans make good fertilizers.
Oh my God.
Seeing how gullible he really is, and she's like, "Oh, you're not gullible. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Right.
She's hilarious.
she-
She's hilarious.
I loved it. Yeah. And then the
Did we get
ending
their
part,
ages? I can't remember if we got ages for them. I think in
We
Lucy's
got
file it
Talia's
said how
age.
old he was. Okay.
Talia
was
says
like,
she was 243 years old.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But Linus knew how old, I guess, gnomes mature at, so he knows that she's
Yeah.
young for her age.
She's still
Yeah.
like not a fully mature gnome.
Right, yeah. And then I loved how Lucy introduced himself to Linus. That had me cracking up because this
Yes.
is honestly how the section ends. And so he says, I am evil incarnate. I am the blight upon the skin of this world, and I will bring it to its knees. Prepare for the end of days. Your time has come, and the rivers will run with the blood of the innocents.
Oh my God.
Just laughing so hard because I'm pretty sure Lucy's really not like that. He just knows
Yeah.
people fear him, probably, right?
He just
And
likes to
so-
play around with it.
Right. So I can't wait to honestly see the personalities of each of these kids. Like, it's going to be, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. Was it Talia
What I
afterwards
picture.
that laughed and was like, he's so dramatic?
Yeah.
Yes, he's such a drama queen, or yeah, there's
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. What I pictured at that scene, have y'all seen Emperor's New Groove?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Jenny, you need to watch it because you will absolutely
so
love
funny.
it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, and
It's good even
it's
for
so good.
adults.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably love it more as an
Like,
adult than I did as a
It's
kid.
not like super immature humor. It's like actually funny.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's this moment. Well, I don't want to give too much away, but there's this moment where the villain at the end is giving this speech, and just in the state that she's in, giving the speech, it reminded
exactly
me
what
so
the scene
much
was.
of this little monologue that he's delivering. He's like,
Yeah.
"People will fear me."
Yeah. Like so overdramatic. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's so great.
So, yeah. So, those are my three things. Already, like I said, a great book. I can kind of see where the story's going, but in a really great way. I'm here for it. I cannot wait to see
Yeah.
the journey of this book.
Right. Yeah, so to get into my three things, the first one was I noticed that after Linus's meeting with extremely upper management, Mr. Werner, the one that he was calling the handsome one, he
God.
he hung behind everybody as the rest of them left. And then he talked to Linus separately, and at one point he said that he had a vested interest in this orphanage, which caused little alarm bells to go off in my head. I was like, what does he mean by that? Like, curious. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that definitely stood out to me too. I was like, what the heck? Because he's the one that's going to be overseeing all of the reports and stuff from Linus. And so I think maybe it has something to do with Arthur, because I think they made such a big deal about saying that the way he's running things and he hasn't been reporting as he's supposed to. So maybe there's a personal vendetta against Arthur. I don't know. But
Okay.
that really stood out to me too.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, what does he mean by that? Okay, maybe something
Yeah,
will
I
come
I
up
do remember
later.
that one. So
Okay. And then my second thing was about Miss Chapelwhite and Merle both mentioning that they expected Linus to be a little younger. And I'm wondering, why would they assume that? So throughout the first few chapters, it's mentioned, I think, that Linus is around his 40s or something like that, approaching middle age. And
Right.
he's single. He doesn't really have any family that we know of. He's just got, his cat, and he lives home alone. But I wonder, why would they assume that he would be young? I was trying to figure out or try to come up with reasons why that would be. And the only thing I could think of is people who work in this industry, just like in our real world, sometimes get burnt out really quickly and and kind of move on to a different career after that happens, just because of the heaviness of what they confront in this line of work. So maybe that's why. What do you guys think?
I think that got mentioned too. Like, I think Chapel-White asked, like, "Oh, you're still doing this even now? Like, you've been doing this for that long?" So I think that you're probably right. Like, they probably expected to get somebody new because people probably don't last very long as social workers. Like, that is a hard job, and it does burn you out faster. My other thought, though, as you were saying that, was a lot of times, like, management wants to hire the younger people because they're more malleable. They can turn them into what they want. So maybe they expected somebody younger because it's like, oh, I can control these people into what I want.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was also thinking along the same lines as you, Steph, that it was a way for us as the reader to ground us, to make some kind of connection to the real world and get an expectation of what his job actually is, because he's a social worker, right? That's what he is. And so outside of that, I also think that there may be an expectation that since he has been there 17 years, that like, if you're doing, like, what are you doing? You know, you must be valuable in that role if you haven't been promoted.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that goes to Miss Chapel-White's reasoning too. Like, oh shit, you've been doing this 17 years and they sent you. Like, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to approach you now?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then the third thing that stuck out to me is Miss Chapel-White. So it seems like once a magical being is an adult, they're supposed to be registered, and so I guess that's why there's a separate organization for the adults instead of the youths. And we come to find out that Miss Chapel-White is not registered. So I'm wondering, first of all, how has she gotten away with that? And then second of all, what happens if someone finds out, like someone outside of, the little bubble that we're in right now? And again, it obviously seems like, magical beings in this world are outcasts in society, and they're really regulated. I'm kind of worried, like, if that comes up, what's going to happen, because she also seems to have a lot to do with, like, taking care of this orphanage. I forgot what kind of sprite she said she is, but anyways,
she's an
this island
sprite.
is her domain. Yeah, so it's like her responsibility, this island, as well as, the person in charge of the orphanage. So that was just kind of concerning for me, and I'm just like, why is she not registered, and what will happen if someone finds out?
Yeah, I mean, she was trying to hide it from Linus because she knew that the minute he found out, he's probably meant to report that, honestly. He was sent there to report on every little thing. So I'm curious to find out if he's actually going to report that or not, because I'm wondering that too, because they kind of go back to my first point when I was talking about the different departments, keeping tabs on all the kids and the adults who have magical abilities. Is it to be isolated from humans, like you said, kind of like those outcasts? Like, why is that? Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So definitely we'll get more on that. Those are just definitely things that really stood out in the very beginning as we're trying to understand this new world.
So my three things, I guess, tend to be more observational. Okay. So I get a bit of a Wizard of Oz vibe here. Because everything that's described here at the beginning with Linus is just so gray, drab, and bleak. It's I'm like, stop.
His office sounds horrible.
Awful.
Just awful. It sounds like The Office in The Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible sitting at that tiny desk, pecking on his keyboard.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, it's such awful imagery that I don't want to have. But Wizard of Oz, because we go from black and white and gray to Technicolor, and so when he's on the bus or the train getting to where the destination, getting to the orphanage, getting to the island, there's a moment where the bus or the train monitor punching tickets says, well, if you look just about there, there's your destination, and the rainstorm is going away, and now we get color, and we get the Cerulean Sea, and I love that imagery. Like that's just it's like the goal where you need to get to,
almost like paradise.
Yeah, and so reading that again, I was like, I can appreciate that more. I'm like, oh, this is really good. Like that's really well done.
And that goes along with the poster that he had in his office, where it's like, where is it that you want to go? Oh, the mouse pad. Okay. Yeah. So I did love that was a connection there.
Yeah.
So Wizard of Oz vibe because of that. My second thing is things like DICOMY and DICOMA, because that's the department in charge of magical adults. And then we have terms like extremely upper management.
So
it gives
funny.
it gives this story like Dr. Seussian whimsy vibes. Just with the terminology that's being used here. And again, I think that just helps paint a picture of what life is kind of like, and what the story, what we can expect from this kind of story.
Right.
Because we're obviously not rooted in reality here. So I think that helps achieve that in our brains.
Well, extremely upper management, honestly, like sounds like a lot of our upper management people.
Right?
No, truly.
And true.
Like their attitudes.
And then the way they had to sit on like those big old desks that like hover over you that are so high up.
Yeah.
I was just
and
like,
the room
come
was dark
on.
before they came in. It was so over dramatic. Talk about
So
dramatic.
stupid. But I'm like, you know what? A lot of these upper management people, a lot of these upper leadership people, that's how they feel they are above us,
Yeah.
So there's like symbolism there too.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was
it
so
all.
funny.
We
It was
could
so
just
funny.
Dissect this all day long. My third thing is that I almost get the sense of X-Men vibes too, because we have like the idea of X-Men with mutants versus humans. It seems there is a great bit of fear in the world against anyone who might be magical. And the department in charge of youth and adults, they seem to be putting forth like a bunch of propaganda that supports that. Even in the homes, like the orphanages, they have these posters that kids see all day, like, no, you're the problem. And it's disheartening.
Yeah.
When you read that, especially with everything that's going on today, you can't help but put two and two together. And so it just creates this sense of like icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like the
Exactly.
educator in me is like already feeling for these children. I'm like, I want them all, like bring them all to my house, guys. I will raise them all with magical abilities.
Right.
No matter what.
Especially like when we read, I know. Especially when we read like Talia's character, and I was like, oh my gosh, the teacher in me is like, I know those kids that try to test those boundaries immediately.
Oh yeah.
Immediately to see what they can get away with, and to size you up to see what you're actually capable, I guess not capable, but what you're willing to do as far as like
What kind of person you're going
discipline.
to become too. Like they want to see if you're going to be a caring person or if you're going to be more of an authoritative person where like you're going to be screaming at them all the time too. Because I feel like with Talia, she's going to, and kids that are like that too, they end up becoming your like number one supporters, your number one helpers. They end up being the ones who are helping you all the time because they just want to be accepted and they want to be useful. And so I can already see that for Talia too.
It's giving older sibling vibes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. All right. So those are our three things that stuck out. Now we're going to dive into two character moments for each of us. So again, I'm going to kick it off over to you two.
All right, so I'm sure we're all going to pick this character to talk about because he's honestly the only really character to talk about right now. But Linus, what an interesting character so far. His inner monologue honestly makes me laugh, especially when he's talking to his boss, Miss Jenkins, and his neighbor. I honestly wish he could tell off those two women, especially his boss. She just sounds so horrible. And she was just threatening him, like, if you really put a complaint against me, you're going to get it. And I'm like, dude, shut up. I can't stand people like that.
Also, like, kind of illegal, but
Right, exactly. But it happens a lot.
It does.
For sure.
But he's giving me, obviously, very big introverted vibes who takes his job just a little bit too seriously. When he pulled out his copy of the rules and regulations, revealing that it was like 900 plus pages long, I was like, good Lord, this man is a stickler.
Yeah.
I was like, who has an extra copy at their house? I don't even read
And
the rules at work.
Yeah, and he paid for it himself so that he
I
could
know,
have a copy at home.
Like, who
Yeah.
said?
Actually, according to the
Yikes.
code, section 2,
Yeah.
subsection 3, point B,
Yeah, he was like
Yeah.
quoting it. It's so funny.
But he has a little bit of sarcasm in there, and I love that. And I kind of want to see more of that. I want to see more of the sarcasm. I want to see him come out of his skin a little bit more. I want him to start asking real questions instead of hiding behind the rules. So like those are kind of things that I'm rooting for Linus. And he needs to start wondering what happens to those poor children that he's like shutting down the orphanages on. Like he needs to start really poking around beyond his job title, right? Because he keeps saying it's above my pay grade. No, dude, I need you to start looking. I need you to start asking questions. So that was my first character moment. The second one is just more of like a funny side character who is very ick, but at the same time funny. And that's Mrs. Clapper. She like
It's a good description. She's
Right?
ick, but also
Very,
funny.
yeah.
she made me laugh, but she also reminds me why I don't like neighbors.
Not
True.
these kinds of neighbors.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
There's some
Yeah,
good
yeah.
neighbors out there.
She was just being so funny, sarcastic. She's being nosy, just like you think of neighbors would be nosy, poking fun at the fact that he lives alone. And she's just like,
Oh my
hey,
God.
yeah, so no lucky lady friend? She's like, oh, wait, that's right. You're not into that. I'm like, dude, shut up.
She's so annoying.
Such a bitch for saying that. Just being mean for no reason. And then she tries to set him up with her grandson.
Oh
Just
my
like,
God.
what are you doing?
The accountant.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? And then the comment that she made about like being alone isn't healthy, that she wouldn't want him blowing his brains out to hurt the resale
Oh my
value of the
God.
neighborhood. I'm like, I'm
That
sorry,
went
Not
dark
for
very
well-being,
quickly.
for the resale value.
just a resale value. That's what she cares about. And then
Oh my
whenever
God.
Linus goes, I'm not depressed, she goes, really? Why not?
Aw.
I just couldn't help but laugh.
She's terrible.
She's
like-
awful.
She is awful,
Yeah.
but it made me laugh. I was like, lady, leave him
Crazy.
alone and mind your business. Good Lord.
Same here. Did I ever tell you about this janitor that worked at my school? Like was it my first year? Yeah, it was my first year teaching. Her name was Lou Ann, and she talked like this. She had a friend Brenda. And she talked like this. She had a really smoky voice. She's like, oh my God, Ethan, I just love your music.
No, you don't think you've ever told us this?
Oh my God.
What
That's
great
so
impression,
funny.
though.
No.
Truly, like, this is uncanny. And so,
She just left an
but
impression on you.
all that to say, yes, I will tell that story some other time. All that to say is
Okay.
that this neighbor gives me that vibe.
Yeah.
She's like,
Okay.
Linus, what are you doing? You alone? I got a grandson who's an accountant. I can set you up. Please don't blow your brains
My
out. It's not good
God.
for resale value.
So crazy.
Now, anytime I read and if she comes back on, that's all I'm going to be hearing.
Or any character
Yeah.
like her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
So those were my two character moments. Great, by the way.
Yeah. Well, mine are basically the same. They kind of run along the same lines, but we're only 5 chapters in, so not much to pick from yet. But
Yeah.
the first moment that I wanted to point out, well, like, just overall in the first few chapters, everybody treats Linus so badly. Like, it's sad to me the way
know.
he interacts with the world, or really the way the world interacts with him for no good reason. Especially Mrs. Clapper. So I wanted to get into this.
God.
She's, the nosy neighbor. But something that stuck out to me was this moment right before he was leaving to go to the island when he was trying to, well, at first he came back early from work and she assumed that he got fired from work.
Yeah.
And so then she took that moment, try to set him up with her grandson, who's the accountant. She offered to get him a job with him as his personal secretary. And then right at the end of that, he said, if it all goes well, though, we could be family. And so part of me wonders is this her version of like looking out for him? Does she really think she's being a nice neighbor? And not that that excuses her behavior, obviously. But I get the sense that like she's always on the porch when he comes home. So I get the sense that she doesn't really have much going on in her life either. And so this is all she has to comment on. This is all she has to pay attention to is Linus and what's going on with his life, you know?
Yeah. I don't think that she means anything bad at poking fun. I think she thinks that
Yeah.
he finds it funny and that she's not doing
She
it.
thinks she's funny.
Yeah, she thinks she's funny, which I mean, I'm
I
laughing.
think she's
so
a riot.
Yeah.
well, she has me laughing, so I guess she is funny. I don't know.
Yeah. She's not intentionally
But-
being mean.
Exactly. She's not intentionally. I don't think that she would want him to actually blow his brains out, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe she is. Maybe that's her version of like reaching out and making sure he's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if it's like a little bit of a comparison, right? Like, if things don't change, maybe this is who you could turn into.
Well, yeah, like she's
Or-
always on her porch when he gets home. So I get the sense that she just lives her life on that porch and it doesn't seem like she ever has any company. She always talks about her grandson, but it's not like he's coming over to see her, you know?
Or she could just be that character that they put in a book to like start foreshadowing what's going to happen to the main character, right? Because obviously this is a found family book and she's over here poking fun at the fact that he has no family. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
you're just foreshadowing that this is where Linus is going. So, but for giggles and laughs too.
Yeah, it's still funny. And then my second moment was in chapter 4. This is with Linus specifically. So he's talking to Miss Chapelwhite on their way to the island. Well, on the way to the ferry that gets him to the island. And so he says, "I don't hate anything," Linus said. "You lie," says Mrs. Chapelwhite. He hooks his head. "No, hate is a waste of time. I'm far too busy to hate anything. I prefer it that way." So this moment just made me laugh because it was so matter of fact the way he was like, "No, I don't hate anything." When she was talking about how people hate magical beings in this town, and it seems like just anywhere, and that they hate things that they don't understand or things that they fear and don't understand. And so this just made me, you know, like it was kind of a funny way for him to say it, that he doesn't hate anything. But it kind of just shows his character, you know. He truly approaches his job with this attitude. It doesn't seem to me anyway, that he has any ill will towards these kids and he truly wants
Right.
to do right by them. And just shows me that he's a good person deep down, you know.
Right. And that's kind of what I mentioned earlier. Him taking his job so seriously is because he thinks that if he doesn't do a good job, then he's not doing good by these kids. Like, he does care about
Right.
the kids. He cares about them being in a safe environment. So he thinks that by shutting down these orphanages, he's doing good because they're not in a safe environment anymore. Now they're going to be in a better place. He doesn't know what happens when whenever he shuts down in orphanages. He thinks
Right.
that they're going to probably a better place or maybe like a safer
Or it's
place.
stress. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think he's a good guy. He means well. He just doesn't know what's happening because he doesn't understand the politics behind his job.
Yeah. I also really loved the interaction between Chapelwhite and Linus, especially towards the end of their conversation. She asks him, she's like, "All I'm asking is that you give them a chance and that you have a little bit of compassion."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I wouldn't do this if I do this because I have compassion." And she says, "You really believe that, don't you?" And meaning like, ooh, man, that's what a read. Like, you
Right.
believe that you're being compassionate, but you're not because you
Yeah.
don't deign to question what happens
Right.
if,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So it was really interesting. It's like, ooh, all right, you know,
Yeah.
a little philosophical moment. Let's dig deeper into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so my two character moments, obviously Linus. He is the epitome of by the book, as we've already said in various ways.
Yeah.
Even going so far as to assume the reason his boss was angry at him was because he had a stain on his shirt or
That was
tie.
fun.
Oh my God.
It was hilarious. I was like, oh
But
no.
he also
Yeah.
did get docked for that. So it's like he has a reason why he does that.
Yeah, not without reason. He just
But not
couldn't
from
imagine
his
why
boss.
else.
Yeah,
It was
not
from
his boss,
Gunther.
though, his
Is that
boss's
his name?
crony.
Gunner? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Gunther.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Gunther, don't ruin Gunther's name from
I
Friends.
know, seriously.
But yeah, I had the same thought as you did, Jen. I was like, gosh, loosen up, bud. Like, come on.
Yeah. It is
But,
not that serious. It's okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Yeah, but he does take his work seriously, which seems to serve him well ultimately. I just, when I read the part where his neighbor assumes he's depressed and he tells her that he isn't, she straight up asks, why not? I thought that was hilarious, just like you. And like, while I don't play around with depression and anxiety because, you know, like all of us have individuals in our lives that are affected by those, if not ourselves, it was still like, I even had to admit, I was like, if I'm thinking to myself, like, why aren't you depressed? Because if I'm reading your life, it's bleak. Like, unless you just are so introverted that it suits you that well, which there are many introverts, but again, it's purposeful. Like, that's there for a reason. So that was my first character moment. Linus, gotta love him. And I do love that name, Linus.
Yeah.
It's kind of classic, and yet you don't hear it often. Like, it's just one of those names. And it
I knew a
reminds me of
Linus
Charlie Brown.
growing up, so yes. And he was actually named after the character in Charlie Brown, so I always associate that name with the character in Charlie Brown.
I'm sure anyone that's named Linus gets tired of hearing, like, oh, you have your little blanket, you know.
But he was such a cute character.
Yes, he was. And then my second character moment is just the orphanage group as a whole. I love all of these kids. They're so quirky. They all have their own little attitudes.
Yeah.
And their little mysteries about them that Linus is going to have to figure out at some point because he wants to do his job well. And so he wants to make those connections. But yeah, I love these kids. I love every single one of them. And I'm so excited to see y'all read them for the first time. It makes me so excited.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. All right. So that was our 3 and our 2. And we're going into our 1 theory or prediction going forward. A little bit different for me because I am going to pose a question rather than give you my 1 theory or prediction. So because of that, I'm going to let y'all go first.
Okay.
So I think Linus is obviously going to fall in love with the children at the orphanage on the island, and he's going to have a hard time sending honest reports to extremely upper management. Like right now, he's scared because he was extremely blindsided by some of the abilities of the children, especially Lucy. But I think that once he gets to know them, obviously he's going to start to realize that maybe being a rule follower is not all that's cracked up to be. So it kind of seems like an obvious because, like I said, you know, kind of see where the story is going. But that's the one I'm seeing right now, like coming to mind when I'm reading about him meeting the children. Like he's scared. He doesn't know what to expect. He thinks that it's going to be a terrible experience, but I can already see him falling in love with all the kids. I can already see that happening. So
Totally. And then for me, I'm just stuck on this Mr. Werner thing. And so my theory that I came up with about why he said he has a vested interest in this orphanage specifically is that like maybe he's the father of one of the kids or something like that.
Ooh, interesting.
So that was just like my theory that I wanted to throw out there. Probably completely wrong, but you know, something about the way he just like hung back after that meeting and like one-on-one told him, and he seems to like, and he's the one that Linus is going to be sending his reports to directly. So
yeah, I mean, that's interesting. It could be it.
He is very mysterious, I will say, and he is very sus.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Or it seems that way as we read him in the first part.
Okay.
Especially in that
Okay.
meeting room where he's lording over him.
God.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. Those are interesting. Love that. My question is, so we've met all the children now.
Yeah.
Which of the children do you think might be the most challenging for Linus to work with, and why?
I am not going to say Lucy because I feel like that would be kind of an obvious. I think it's going to be Sal.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Sal, the really quiet kid who transforms into the small Pomeranian, because he's so jumpy and so fearful that it's going to take quite a bit to really earn his trust. And I think that that's really hard for Linus to do, is to connect with people, because in the very beginning of the book. Like, I think the master of the first orphanage that he was working with, he kept trying, like, she kept trying to talk to him, and Linus was like trying to leave, like, okay, if you have any questions, email me, and runs away. So
like,
he
"I gotta
has a
go."
hard time obviously connecting with people. So I think that's
Yeah.
going to be really hard for him to connect with Sal, who seems pretty similar.
I'm gonna say Fee, just because she seems like the most mysterious one, and also she was just kind of like in and out. We didn't get a lot of her. We didn't learn a lot about her, and she seems to kind of stick to herself too. So
Yeah.
that's who I think might be the most difficult for him to connect with.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I love that. Very insightful from both of you. I
Yeah.
love it. All right.
All right, book friends, that was the end of our first deep dive on The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Let's keep this discussion going. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. Thank you so much for interacting with us on our socials. We want to hear about your thoughts on this new book that we just started, because we're loving it already.
All right, so get ready for more magic, mischief, and heart in part 2 of The House in the Cerulean Sea. We're diving into chapters 6 through 10, where Linus starts to see that this island and its residents are far more extraordinary than he ever imagined. Found family feelings? Check. Chaos? Always. Tune in for all the cozy feels and theories.